All right, you are live.
Thank you, Amber, and good evening, everyone. Apologies for a bit of a late start here, but we will get underway. The hour of 7 o'clock having arrived on the 2nd of November, 2021, I will call the City Council meeting to order and ask everyone very much for the alders that are here to please have their cameras on. I have to scroll through several screens to see who's here. And I guess I would begin by asking Alder Tate if there are any excused absences for this evening. Oh, Alder Tate, you are muted.
Alder Jones is requested to be excused, and Alder Santiago is excused as well.
Thank you very much for that. If I could ask everyone in joining me to please rise and face the east as you are able, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for that. First item of business before us is the approval of minutes for meetings of the October 19th and the special meeting of October 19th, 2021. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve said minutes.
Move to approve. Tate.
There's a motion to approve from President Tate. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Taft. Any discussion on the minutes of either of those meetings? Seeing none, all those in favor, if alders could briefly unmute themselves. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We'll now move on to proclamations and just by way of thanks for the organizers in our community who put together the Indigenous Peoples event at the Kippi-Kawi Causeway at Lake and Kippi-Kawi. One of the proclamations we have today here is Native American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month, which I will read now. So whereas on August 3rd, 1990, President of the United States, George H.W. Bush declared the month of November as National American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month, thereafter commonly referred to as Native American Heritage Month. Whereas the theme for National American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month 2021 is Sovereignty is Sacred, Sharing Our Rights and Cultures, which provides an opportunity to educate the public about the proud history of Indigenous people in America and to celebrate the rich and diverse tribal cultures that continue to thrive throughout Indian country. The country honors America's first inhabitants and tribal nations that continue to thrive today. That for National Native American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month, the city of Racine celebrates Indigenous peoples and the invaluable contributions they have made throughout history. And whereas countless Indigenous Racinians, past and present, have contributed greatly to the city's arts, economic development, sustainability, governmental, educational, and countless other fields. Therefore, I, Corey Mason, as mayor, do now declare November 2021 as Native American Indian and Alaska Heritage Month. The other proclamation we have is coming up on Veterans Day, which will be celebrated very shortly here. And the proclamation reads such. Whereas Veterans Day was originally celebrated as Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919, to honor the fallen soldiers of the Great War for their sacrifice on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, and was expanded in 1945 to honor American veterans of all wars. Whereas the greatest acknowledgement of our freedom is to honor our armed forces veterans who have sacrificed, and in many ways, many have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Whereas this year we recognize the centennial of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, which was initially dedicated by the Army on Armistice Day, November 11th, 1921. Whereas all residents of our great country owe a debt of gratitude to our veteran sons and daughters, brothers and sisters who risked all so that we may enjoy our inalienable rights as Americans. And whereas the city of Racine honors the brave men and women who selflessly answered the call to serve, putting their lives in the line to ensure our country remains the land of the free. Now, therefore, I, Corey Mason, as mayor, do declare November 11th, 2021 as Veterans Day here in the city of Racine, with my signature signed thereof. Thank you, everyone, for that. The next item that we have on the agenda is public comments. So Amber, if we could turn it over to you, if you could, again, lay out the guidelines for our public comment process and then begin calling on those present wishing to address the council.
Of course. The public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes. There shall be no dialogue or interaction between the speaker and elected official or staff. This time is not intended to be a debate or a discussion. The Common Council shall not hear personal complaints or attacks against any city employees or elected official or any matter related to an individual claim, citation, appeal, or lawsuit. Profane, disruptive, threatening, or conduct that otherwise impedes the safe, orderly, and effective conduct of the Common Council meeting is equally unacceptable during the public comment period, as it is during all other portions of city meetings. When a group of people representing one viewpoint wishes to address the council, one person shall be appointed the designated speaker for the group. Candidates for public office may not use this opportunity to campaign for office. Speakers during the public comment period shall follow all rules of the Common Council and ruling of the chair, including a decision to terminate the remarks if the speaker does not adhere to these rules. Public comment shall be limited to ideas and concerns regarding the city of Racine. There will be 3 speakers this evening. First is Mercedes Insaletta, 609 7th Street, talking about the city of Racine.
Still have to get used to this thing. I can't wait till I can be back in person with all of you. Nothing else, I can see all your smiling faces, or at least those with the straight faces looking at us. Sorry to hear that some people are having challenges today, but that happens with all of us at one time or another. My challenge today is just to talk with you and say, I hope downtown businesses hold up, and most businesses in the city, so that all the mandates and stipulations and trials and errors on people don't keep causing problems. I notice the streets are just so bare. I don't have to complain too much about the traffic because there isn't that much downtown right now at most of the day, which is kind of sad. It used to be so busy all the time. But when there is, sometimes they're not paying attention, which of course has always been a problem, but it seems like now they have just the attitude of like, get out of my way, you aren't supposed to be there, the road is mine. Maybe it's because there aren't enough people down here, so hence they do, which is a little bit like the speeding, that accident that was very bad that happened on Highway 31, I guess. Just within the last 24 hours or so. Anyway, I want to make sure that I keep saying that have to keep respecting all the people in the city because we're here. I've chosen to be here a long time. And I like the city of Racine overall. I like the people. I like the location. In fact, my daughter keeps trying to convince me to move. Maybe some people would like me to move. But anyway, I like it here. I like the changes in the weather, even though I don't necessarily need to shovel as often as I used to. Of course, we've had some tame. Anyway, I'm going to slowly do it. I want everybody to remember to respect all the citizens and the workers and allow us to have our opinions without any duress. The other duress, of course, is going to be on the short term, since I'm on the countdown from the minute now, is the fact of seeing the new 38 wards for the city. I'll be interested to see what is the actual districts, since now looks like I'm going to be in Ward 3. So I've moved around from Ward 2 to 1, and now I'm going to probably be in 3. So I look forward to how it's going to change and how it's going to affect the county and everybody else too. Take care and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Amber, our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Paula Magno, 2719 Madison Street, to talk about the water bill fees.
Hello?
Hello, please proceed.
Yes, hi. So my concern is my water bill that I got in the mail yesterday. I had sticker shock when I opened this bill up. It's months ago, I had been paying in the 80s, $85 roughly, and my new amount due is $155. I was just shocked when I opened that bill. And what popped out at me was the sewer service charge. It used to be $20, now it's 40. And I'm sure a couple of the other ones had gone up to make up this $155. I was just shocked, like I said, and I'm just questioning, like, why do we have this increase, this shocking increase? I've just retired, and I can't, I can't be paying all these high rates. I'm questioning why this isn't in my paid for by my taxes. And that's basically why I called. I talked to my alderman, CJ Rouse, and he was very helpful, and he urged me to maybe connect with this meeting tonight. And I'm so glad that I'm able to voice my opinion, but I'm just taken back by this latest bill. I just kind of would like an explanation. And I guess I'm done.
Thank you for your time this evening. Amber, our next speaker.
Excuse me. Our final speaker is Kevin Klinkhammer from Caledonia, speaking on the budget. Kevin, are you there?
Amber, are you able to see if he's muted perhaps?
He is unmuted.
Oh,
Oh, he muted himself and is unmuted again.
sir, can you hear us? Amber, all I'm able to see is the countdown clock. So if there's anything technically you're able to derive from whatever he's trying to do to connect with us, or if there's anything we can do on our end to help him connect with us.
Let me check 1 second, please. Hearing from IT that Kevin, you might need to log out and log back in. Your mic might not be connected.
Let's give that one more minute in effort to try to connect with him, if he is able to do that.
Mr. Mayor, we did receive an email from Kevin. Perhaps if he can't connect, we could read that off on his behalf. I have it in front of me if that's useful.
Yeah, we don't read submitted comments. We all get them, but I think knowing that we have his comments emailed to us would allow the alders to read it at their discretion. Let's give it just one more minute to see if we can get him to connect here.
I received a message that he can hear us. We just can't hear him.
Okay. Has he logged in a second time?
Not yet. Oh, he just logged out. I'm gonna see if he logs back in. Oh, he's back in. Kevin, are you there? All right, Kevin is unmuted, but I still cannot hear him.
Kevin, our apologies that we are unable to technically connect with you. As I understand it, you have emailed your comments to the council, which I appreciate. If alders could read that on their own convenience, and then we will try to make every effort at our next meeting to make sure that you're able to connect with us virtually.
Oh, sorry. I think he might have on. Would you like me to try again one more time?
Yeah, if you can get it to work, that would be great.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay,
Sir,
sorry, I
please.
had to log in from my phone.
All right. Well, we apologize for the technical difficulties, but you have 3 minutes to start addressing the council. Please begin.
Well, as was stated, I did send an email to all the aldermen. I did hear back from 3 of them, which I appreciate. I'm essentially here to speak on what I believe to be the unfairness of your proposed 3% pay wage increase to city employees who are residents of the city of Racine, as well as the drastic difference in HSA accounts. So as I said in my email, I work for the police department. I've been an officer detective here now for almost 22 years. I've lived in the city of Racine, born and raised here, up until about the last 9 years when my wife and I had an opportunity to take advantage of a home purchase in Caledonia. And quite honestly, with my line of work, it's, to me, a little safer to not be within the city and encountering the people that I'm trying to arrest in my position of the gang unit on a daily basis. I do own a property in the city of Racine and have managed it as a landlord for the last 10 years with an impeccable record, no complaints. I've actually only had 2 tenants in that house. I pay my taxes every year. I'm not behind on anything. To me, an increase of 3% pay to city employees who live in the city. I know there's a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot, there are studies out there that say if you live in the jurisdiction with which you work, you have more stake in the game, essentially. I don't find that to be true at all because I don't live in the city. When I moved out of Racine, that didn't mean I cared less about the citizens of Racine and the job I do. And the drastic increase in the HSA amounts is just ridiculous. Mayor, you yourself has preached unity and we have to get everyone on the same page and we've got to do stuff to work this out and become one. And you're Build Back Better saying, like you tried to use in your budget address, I think this is totally the opposite. And you're doing it to your own employees. You're driving a stake in between them and creating problems amongst the employees. I think there has to be a better way to do this. I can see an incentive for people that are hired new to move into the city, but to kick the people that already live and work here or outside of the city is just disgusting to me. And I see my time's run out.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Amber, do we have anyone else this evening registered to give public comments?
We do not. That concludes our public comment.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to the committee of the whole report. Alder Tate the second. I assume these are items for separate consideration?
Indeed, we will take these items up as separately, one by one. So the first item being from the committee of the whole report is item 0848-21, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason submitting the 2022 City Racine budget consisting of the general fund, special revenue fund, debt service fund, capital projects, enterprise funds, internal service funds, and associated budget ordinances and fee schedules as attached are anticipating the adoption of this item. I guess I'll read all of this. Recommendation of the Committee of the Whole is to approve as amended, modifying the step increase to take place for all non-represented employees as of January 1 of each year, rather than that their anniversary date, and a retention bonus for non-represented and non-utility full-time employees that have a higher date on or before January 1, 2022, and are still employed as of April 30th, 2022, with a retention bonus of $750 paid out in May of 2022. Bonus will be paid as a one-time bonus and will not be part of base salary. Also, to modify the HSA contribution schedule to include represented employees while retaining the matrix, increasing the revenue account by $387,500, increasing the expense account by $387,500, and increasing the revenue account as listed by $250,000, and increase expense by $250,000. Fiscal note, these are all available in the budget book as well as posted online in the city website. Move to approve as amended.
So motion to approve item 0848-21, the annual budget as amended. Motion was made by President Tate, seconded by Alder Taft. Discussion on the item. And again, for alders, if you could leave your cameras on. I have to scroll through several screens to see who's present. If I miss you for some reason and haven't called you, feel free to unmute yourself and ask to be recognized. Alder Rouse.
As the maker of the motion, don't I have the opportunity to speak to?
I'm sorry, you sure do, President Tate. You have the privilege of speaking first. Alder Rouse will go to you after President.
Thank you. So just want to speak in favor of adoption as presented and as amended. You know, this budget that we have before us adds to every single city employee in terms of benefits. Also does not take any steps backwards as it relates to the last couple of years. I know there's been some freezes, some hiring freezes, some wage increase freezes due to the pandemic and other fiscal challenges. And this is the first opportunity that we've had going forward to restore step increases, to restore COLA increases, as well as expanding and increasing everyone's HSA contributions. And keep in mind, when we employed the HSA the first time, it was a one-time, not certain if it'll be going forward sort of thing. We're in a fortunate position that we are able to continue to go forward with it, at least this year, and perhaps in the foreseeable future for the next several years. But for now, we are once again providing an HSA contribution, which was not guaranteed. And it is a greater contribution than it was in the previous years. And that'll be for every city employee, not including the utility because they have their own particular plan, I believe, as far as their breakdowns. But as a whole, this particular budget does not cut any services, does not cut any staff, and does not, cut any particular costs associated with or finances associated with the salaries of any staff. It is an improvement and an increase across the board, every which way you look at it. And given the last few years and the difficulty that we've made in these budget decisions, I am happy to be supporting a budget that adds and does not subtract in any regard to our city staff, and our employees, because they work hard, they do deserve and warrant increased, retentions, increased salaries, and increased HSA contributions. It's been a difficult 2 years, 18 months, probably continue to be difficult until we're finally on the other side of this. But we certainly want to recognize those efforts and reward them accordingly. So I'm happy to support this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tate II. Alder Rouse, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know we went into lengthy discussion on this yesterday, and I've heard these perspectives before. I just wanted to reiterate what has pressured me to make this such an urgent thing. I have talked to over 75 city employees at this point. I have talked to supervisors that represent over 2/3 of our city's workforce. I have talked to 11 different departments. None of them are happy. None of them are in support of this. None of them. Not a single person I talked to. And these are the people that it directly impacts. And it's not that I'm against the idea of it. In fact, that's why I wanted to make the amendments the way that they were, to keep that in spirit, but to make it functioning, which is what I think our job is. Big visions are tough. I get that. And I appreciate the big visions that come from our administration. But then I expect us to rely on those voices that advise us to make these functionable and to make those visions something that's sustainable going forward and well into the future after we are gone. Even after this, and I'm assuming it will pass, I hope you take the time to go to these departments, to speak to these employees and see exactly how they feel. And at the end, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're wrong. I hope we're all wrong. But if not, take that chance to go in there and talk to them. Don't take my word for it. Talk to them directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Rouse. Just going to scroll through to see if there are others who wish to speak. Again, I know we had a robust conversation last night. I'm not seeing any other hands. Are there other members of council wishing to speak? Alder Coe.
Well, it was a long last couple of days for me. I had not intended on voting no on this budget, but after last night's meeting, I can't in good conscience support this budget the way it stands. So I will be voting no on this budget. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Alder Caprillion.
Thank you, Mayor Mason. I too am not in support of the direction of this budget. There's a lot of good pieces to the budget, but this part that we are just speaking of right now, and that was with a healthy discussion yesterday, really pains me. And I think I would be remiss if not at this time, I did not say to our city employees that I appreciate you. I appreciate the decision you made to work for the city of Racine. And without you, what would we be? I honor your dedication, your commitment. And since the presentation of this budget, we have been hearing from the employees. We have gotten emails, lengthy emails, probably the lengthiest emails I have ever received have come because there's a lot of compassion, there's a care, and there's voices that are dying to be heard. Unfortunately, there was not public comment offered for those employees to speak on the area of the budget that they felt needed to get addressed during our deliberation process. So now it's just for or against the budget. I just want to let those employees know, I heard you, I appreciate you. You are the ones that are going out there every day, carrying out what we are asking, carrying out these visions, these implementations that come from the budget time. So what we are voting on this evening falls now and will fall into your lap. And this is where it pains me and why I'm going to have to vote no, is because they're saying that this tool is not going to work. It's going to hinder us. We are already in a place where we are not filling positions. We are not able to retain. You are causing more hardship to us. Please hear us. You trust in us every day you're saying that we're dedicated, we trust you to carry it out, and that we have the competencies to do it. But all of a sudden now we don't have the competencies to do it. When we're asking to be heard, that something that you're going to drop in our lap is not going to work for us. All of a sudden, so I can't act like, I feel like we're sitting up here in this ivory tower. And I just want to let those employees know that I'm hearing you. And I would hope other alders this evening will also recognize that and do what is best for our employees. They may not be electing us. Is that ultimately what it is? Because they live outside, but our taxes are high. And offering some of these benefits and with this increase over time, it's going to make our taxes even go higher. So why don't we implement a bonus instead, where this is not going to keep impacting what our tax rate will be onto our residents in this community, and then cause more hardships for those supervisors, those department heads who are having to bring in the employees and retain them. So I will not be voting for this budget. Thank you.
Alder McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with much of what Alderman Caprillion has stated regarding appreciating our employees, 100%. We have a policy in front of us. It's a matter of timing on the policy, as it was proposed to either be going forward or retrospective. And I do have to say that, yes, I understand some people disagreeing with a particular policy included in a budget, but I will be voting for a budget that I agree probably 97% with. There's things in here I disagree with as well. I am not going to be a one issue person voting on this, honestly. I think the majority of this budget is in line with where we want to go. The vast majority of this budget is in line where most of us want to go. But outside of all of that, I'm sure I'm speaking for the entire council when I say we do very much appreciate our employees, no matter how we vote on the budget.
Thank you, Alder McCarthy. Alder Lemke.
I'll pass it this time. Thank you.
Okay. Just want to see if there's any other alders wishing to speak. Alder Taft. Alder Taft, you are muted.
Thank you. I spoke for quite a bit yesterday, articulating reasons that I support this budget in terms of equity, in terms of the fact that we're providing bonuses and providing increases to all of our employees, and wholeheartedly agree that we as a city support our employees and have spoken to employees and listened to employees. And there are going to be things that we disagree about. This whole budget is one that I support. I do want to clarify though that there was a whole day provided for public hearing for anybody who wanted to come and do public hearing. So I just don't want it to be to go forward like there was an opportunity for public hearing, because there was a whole day last week dedicated to public hearing. And not very many people showed up, but it was available. Thanks.
Thank you. Alder McCarthy, your hand is still up. Did you want to speak a second time or, okay. Just want to see if there's any other alders wishing to speak to the motion. I don't see any other alders wishing to speak to the motion. Seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, this again for item 048-21. This is the 2022 proposed 2022 City of Racine budget consisting of the general fund, special revenue funds, debt service fund, capital project fund, enterprise fund, internal service funds, associated budget ordinance, and fee schedules as attached and as amended at last night's committee of the whole meeting. So seeing no other further discussion on the item, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder McCarthy,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Rouse,
No.
Alder Perez,
No.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma.
Aye.
Was that an aye, Alder Mikma?
Aye.
Thank you. Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
No.
Alder Tate II,
Aye.
Alder Caprillion,
No.
Alder Peterson,
No.
Alder Horton. Alder Horton,
Aye.
thank you. Eight ayes, 5 noes.
Motion passes. Moving on, President Tate, to the next item from the committee of the whole report.
Next item 0863-21, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Finance Director to allocate any unassigned general fund balance in excess of 30% of the subsequent year's expenditures, if any, shall be assigned to the Budget Stabilization Reserve account on an annual basis subsequent to audit review, based on resolution 0273-21, -17, dated August 2nd, 2017, and is amended only to the extent that any assigned general fund balance that is in excess of 25% and no more than 30% of the subsequent year's expenditure shall be assigned to the wage and benefit provision account on an annual basis subsequent to audit review. Move to approve.
Motion to approve item 0863-21. Is there a second?
Second, McCarthy.
Second by Alder McCarthy. President Tate, would you like to speak to your motion?
I have nothing to comment on this one.
Any other discussion on item 0863-21? Again, I'm just scrolling through the Brady Bunch tiles on my screen here to make sure I'm not missing anyone. I see no one wishing to speak on item 0863-21. As such, I will ask the clerk to call your name. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder McCarthy,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Rouse,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Yes.
Alder Taft,
Yes, I.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Tate II.
Aye.
Alder Caprillion,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 noes.
The motion carries. President Tate, would you like to continue with the next item under the committee of the whole report?
Certainly. Next item is 0651-21, submission of the proposed Waterworks 2022 operations and maintenance budget and the proposed 2022 to 2026 capital improvement plan, recommending adoption. Move to approve as presented.
Motion to approve item
Second.
0651-21, seconded by Alder Taft. Any discussion on item 0651-21? Scrolling through to see if there are any questions. I see no questions. Seeing no questions, we will go to a vote. When the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder McCarthy,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Rouse,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Yes. Yes.
Alder Taft,
I.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Tate II,
Aye.
Alder Caprillion,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion passes. President Tate, the next item under the committee of the whole report.
Item 0652-21, submission of the proposed wastewater 2022 operations and maintenance budget and the proposed 2022 to 2026 capital improvement program, recommending adoption. Move to approve. as
Second.
presented.
It's a motion by President Tate to approve the wastewater budget, seconded by by Alder Taft, who are both commissioners on the wastewater commission. Apologies for confusing titles there. Any discussion on the proposed wastewater 2022 operational budget? Seeing no discussion, we will go to a vote. When the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder McCarthy,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Rouse,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Taft,
I.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
I.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Tate II.
Aye.
Was that an aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Alder Caprillion,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion carries. President Tate, the final item under the committee of the whole report.
Yep. Item 0685-21, consideration of the 2022 sewer service rates. Move to approve as presented.
It's a motion to approve this item as presented. Is there a second?
Second, Alder West.
Seconded by Alder West. Any discussion on this item? Seeing no discussion on this item, when the clerk calls the roll, please vote as you wish.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder McCarthy,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Rouse,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Meekma,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Tate II,
Aye.
Alder Caprillion,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion carries. That completes the committee of the whole report and a long effort to pass our annual budget. Many thanks to the alders and particularly the staff and the department heads and the employees who helped put this year's budget together. Thank you very much for your efforts. We will now move on to the Finance and Personnel Committee report by Alder Taft. Alder Taft, did you have separate items, any items for separate consideration?
I have received no such requests.
Okay. Then without objection, these items will be placed on the consent agenda.
I
Moving
certainly do
on.
not object.
Moving on then to the Public Works and Services Committee. We don't have Alder Jones here. I believe
Lemke.
Alder Lemke then would be next in line. Is that correct? For those on Public Works?
I have received no request for separate consideration. Do
Are there
you,
any requests for separate consideration that people might have for anything in Public Works? I'm just going to scroll through. Seeing none, we will place those items on the consent agenda. We will then move on to Public Services and Licensing. Alder Coe, did you have any items for separate consideration?
I mean, Public Works and. You didn't
I'm sorry,
say
what?
pub-
Safety and licensing.
Public Safety and Licensing. I'm sorry, did I say Public Works and Licensing? I
Yeah.
misspoke. My apologies,
No
Chairman.
no separate consideration.
Okay, we have no items for separate consideration. We will then move on to the Planning, Heritage, and Design report. Alder Peach.
Point of order,
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, you need to move
Yep.
those items to the consent agenda.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. Sorry. Then without objection, the items on the Public Safety and Licensing agenda will be moved onto the consent agenda. If I didn't say that for the Public Works and Services Committee agenda items as well, my apologies, and we will move those onto the consent agenda. We then move on to the Planning, Heritage, and Design report. Alder Pete, did you have any items for separate consideration?
No, I do not have any items for separate consideration.
Are there any items, anybody wishing to address any of the Planning, Heritage, and Design items for separate consideration? Seeing no request for separate consideration, we will place those items on the consent agenda. We will then move on to the Transit Commission report. Usually this would be done by Alder Jones. She is not here this evening. President Tate, if I could impose upon you, if there's items for separate consideration, are there any requests for separate consideration on the Transit Commission items?
I've received no such request, but I will pause to allow alders to submit separate consideration since they didn't necessarily know prior to now who to submit those separate consideration items to.
Indeed, and I'm scrolling through the screens here to see if anyone has a request for separate consideration. I'm seeing no hands. If you want to do an audible, if you want to do separate consideration, that would be appropriate at this time. But seeing none, we will move those items onto the consent agenda.
Objection.
Which then takes us to the final item, which is the Office of the Mayor report by Alder Tate regarding the decennial ward map changes. Commissioner Tate,
Thank
I
you.
assume this will be an item for separate consideration.
Indeed. Item 0879-21, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason, although I think that should actually be communication sponsored by President Tate, requesting approval of the updated war map changes as a result of reconciliation. So if we can have that reflected for the record, because Mayor didn't have anything to do with this,
Yeah.
except the direct
It's-
referral.
Other than the direct referral, that is absolutely correct. I referred it to the Office of the Mayor report, but this is all work done by President Tate and the members of the ad hoc committee who did a lot of work here. So if we could.
So
be-
I'll just briefly discuss what the item is before I make the motion to approve. So reconciliation, we had 3 meetings with the county within a 2-week period. The first meeting, there was some immediate feedback, adjustments sent, proposed reconfiguration of the county board maps based on the wards we provided, some additional feedback in the subsequent meeting. Then we had a final meeting where the county proposed some minor adjustments to the wards. Those were completely amendable to those. The adjustments that they chose to offer happened within the internal boundaries of each proposed aldermanic district. So there were no changes to the actual shape or structure of the aldermanic districts as they were proposed. And they actually only made, I think, 5 adjustments total. One of which was more significant internally, but not externally. That was for wards 12 and 11, which were previously horizontally stacked. Now they're vertically stacked, but they still create the same shape to create what will likely be the 5th aldermanic district. Otherwise, there was a brief bump out for the Ward 30 into Ward 31 of 6 blocks going from west to east. And then I think the only other changes were to adjust the 37 and 38 to slightly move 38 further west as opposed to east for balancing numbers for the wards and to assist with creating the 10th supervisory district. So those were the only changes. They were very minor. It was a pleasure working with Supervisor Chairman Miller on the county board side and their staff, and Alder Meekman and myself as well as our staff. So it was a pretty painless process as anticipated and as kind of designed based on the original ward map that we proposed. And we jokingly both said that perhaps going forward, Supervisor Miller and I can consult around the state to help other communities figure out how to do this more easily and directly. But this is the proposed ward map for adoption to reflect those discussions, and the county board will be adopting their final supervisory districts anticipated on November 9th, reflecting these particular ward changes. And then we'll be scheduling one more ad hoc committee meeting to adopt our proposed aldermanic districts probably shortly after the county board has adopted theirs, thus making sure that the new wards and districts are clear and available for circulation come December 1st for any odd or even districts that are up for this spring. So I'll move to approve the reconciled ward plan as presented.
Second.
The motion to approve the reconciled ward map from President Tate, seconded, I believe, by Alder Meekma, if I heard correctly. Thank you, Alder Meekma. And just, I know you all know this, but attached on your agenda is the proposed map. If people want to open it and look at it to see what President Tate was describing there. Is there any discussion on the item?
Just the one thing for people's interest. Unfortunately, the map that's attached isn't colored in, so you can't really tell which areas are actually grouped together or not. But if you'd like, I can share the link has been shared with the clerk, so hopefully she can post that. That would go directly to the observable page that's similar to what the county sent out for observation. So you can see the colors because they're obviously grouped by anticipated aldermanic districts by color. So I would ask the clerk to send those out and post that somewhere as well.
Duly noted. We'll be sure that the clerk follows up on that. Actually, I'm sure she will follow up on that. She's very thorough, and we'll do it just based on the conversation here tonight. Any further discussion? See no further discussion. This is a once in a decade event. So
Alder
Yep.
Rouse has his hand up.
Oh, I apologize, Alder Rouse. I didn't see your hand there. Please proceed with your comments.
President Tate answered my question. That's all I wanted to know is which wards associated with Alder. I could kind of tell. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't mixing them up.
Great.
So, yeah, I'll just quickly, if you don't mind, most wards or most districts are 2 wards, with the exception of one. I'm not going to go through it, but if you know where you are, Alder Rouse, your district is in 3 wards now, but you can kind of figure out which ones those are based on the structure, as well as the 9th. And I'm going to refrain from going through it. So,
Yep, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? I see no further discussion on the proposed maps. If I'm missing anyone, please unmute yourself and be heard. Again, this is a once in a decade event, so I just want to make sure if people want to have comments before we take the vote. Okay, seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder McCarthy,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Rouse,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma,
Aye.
Alder Lemke,
Aye.
Alder Coe,
Aye.
Alder Tate II,
Aye.
Alder Caprillion,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion carries. That moves us on to our consent agenda. At this time, President Kane, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Taft. All those in favor, if the alders could unmute themselves briefly, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye. No.
The consent agenda passes. We now move on to Common Council announcements. Announcements are limited to recognition of city residents and employees, memorials, and non-political community events. Discussions of matters related to governmental business is prohibited. I would just ask everybody keep Alder Santiago and his family in your thoughts and prayers, and we are hoping for the best there. Alder McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two thanks I'd like to give. One to Alderman Tate and the rest of the aldermen who participate in the redistricting activity. It's greatly appreciated, all their efforts on that. Their decennial efforts on that is greatly appreciated. The other ones I'd like to thank would be particular alders, Rouse, Caprillion, and Co. for their work on their amendments. They worked very hard at that, and I know we weren't successful in getting their amendments through the way they would have liked, but their efforts are greatly appreciated, and it's part of doing a good job as an alderperson, greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Alder McCarthy. Alder Tate II.
I'll echo Alder McCarthy a little bit there, but from a slightly different angle. When I first became council president, I mentioned that my intentions and desire was to elevate the discourse of this body so that we weren't talking about street lights, specific street lights or stop signs being installed, but we were having real substantive conversations about particular policy, the impacts of those policy, what it means as it relates to the impact on our overall city, our future, our fiscal health, et cetera. And, in these last 2 years, I've seen this council continue to rise to that elevated discourse. And last night we had probably one of the most substantive conversations that has been had as it relates to a particular policy provision. And I am proud to see the growth and progress of this body and engaging in those discussions, regardless of what the outcomes may be. I think that is those types of discussions better serve our community and our city than the more granular, in the weeds. I mean, I wouldn't say in the weeds, like policy should get in the weeds, but we shouldn't be talking about like things that don't necessarily reflect what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years or 20 to 30 years. And I appreciate everybody who contributed and engaged in those conversations at that level and continues to elevate the discourse of this body, making it a better functioning entity as a result. So thank you all.
Thank you, Alder Tate II. Well said. A lot of really good work done. I will just mention we did actually adjust the height of acceptable weeds here in the city of Racine as part of the budget. Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to commend former Alderman and Council President David Mack, who retired from emergency management and today took on a job as a middle school social studies teacher at Racine Unified. So we need to keep him in prayer and congratulate him. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Perez, for that announcement. Alder Taft.
Yes, I just I know that I just wanted to thank the Public Health Department for their continued stellar performance during the pandemic, and on this eve of the CDC having approved vaccinations for 5 to 11-year-olds, which is amazingly exciting. As someone who has a child in that age group, I will be getting them vaccinated the very first opportunity I can. So I wanted to encourage city residents to make sure that they take their 5 to 11-year-olds to get vaccinated as soon as possible. And I wanted to also commend the Public Health Department for continuing to make sure that the rollout of the vaccination to be equitable, to make sure, you know, everyone in that age group and all the other age groups can get them as needed. So that's all.
Alder Taft, thank you very much for that announcement. Just on the heels of that, I just wanted to say we will have to wait for the state to approve what the CDC has done here. But then rest assured, as soon as we can make those available to our residents who are 5 to 11 years old who'd like to get vaccinated, I have 2 in my household that are eagerly awaiting that opportunity. We will do so. So look for more information in that regard. I also wanted to give kudos to Shannon Powell and Vicky Selko and John Tate, who spent some time on Saturday. I got to join them later in the day, but doing the neighborhood vaccination works with a mobile clinic that we set up in parts of Alder Tate's district. It was well worth it to interact with constituents directly who were interested in getting a vaccine. So kudos to them. Our work continues to keep us safe as we move through the pandemic. So thank you, everyone. Any other announcements? Seeing no further announcements, Alder West, at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries and we are adjourned. Congratulations on the budget, everyone. A lot of hard work. Stay safe.
Good night.